Welcome to another episode of Culture 8 podcast, brought to you by Ezini, your trusted partner in building thriving workplace cultures. Here we explore the intricate and dynamic world of organizational culture, uncovering insights and strategies to help leaders and teams foster environments where people and businesses can grow together. Today we are talking with my favorite HR person, Abigail Caldwell, Head of People and Talent Development. Welcome to the podcast, Abby. It's an honor to host you today.
Thank you. And I am sure that you tell all of your HR professionals that they're your favorite.
Absolutely no. And I'll share why not. But before deep dive into our views and belief about organizational culture, I would like to ask you a question to allow our audience to get to know you. What was your very first job?
Okay, so my very first job, it's actually a funny story, so I'll add a story to it as well. When I was 15, I started as a waitress at a new Greek restaurant in Charlotte. It was my very first, time doing anything like that, and even trying Greek food. So it was amazing. But at the restaurant, they would have you were not allowed to go out in front of the customers unless you had a black tray. Even if it was empty, you just had to hold it like this, a black tray. And so I had my very first table, I had a table of like 10 to 12 people, a family. And I was taking the drink orders. I came out, I had all of the drinks on this tray, and I was like trying to hold it. And I've got lanky little arms as a 15-year-old. I'm trying to hold it like this. And I take off one glass and everything tips onto just this one man, this poor man. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I just leave and go get more drinks, give him towels, leave, go get more drinks, come back out. I do the same exact thing. I dump all 10 glasses again on him. So that was my first job and my first terrible experience as an employee, but it taught me a lot.
I bet it did. Awesome. That is an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that with us. And to your question, you said, I'm sure you say that to all HR person. I'll be honest with you, Abby. We met at Flux 7. That was an amazing company, and that was we had a very good culture, and I would attribute a lot of it to what you brought to the table to the Flux 7 team. And from my perspective, it was, and I've shared this with you before, you are the first person who actually represents what human resource person is supposed to be, to take care of people. You had us believe, or you worked extra to help people understand that they belong, their voices matter. That's one of the most important points, which I actually talk to my clients at Ezini as well. Everybody's voice matters, and they need an environment, and that's what we create to help them speak and to share that voice. And that's why I think you're one of my favorite HR persons.
Well, you said favorite. Now you're saying one of my favorites, and now I don't know which to believe.
Oh, well,
I really do appreciate that. That's very special to me. I think we've all had really bad experiences with HR representatives. HR has this persona wrapped around it where it's like, don't talk to HR unless you're getting in trouble, unless you want to raise or you're getting hired, don't talk to HR.
Yeah.
And so when I came into Flux 7, that was something that I really kind of drilled into myself. I wanted to be different.
I love it. And thank you for being different, because that shaped my ideas about things as well. And you're right, HR. In fact, I keep even today seeing posts on LinkedIn about HR is not your friend. HR is taking care of or protecting the company, which I understand there are certain situations you have to, but there is a balance, and you have to maintain a balance as a human resource person.
Absolutely. We have to be the voice of the employees and the protector of the values of the company. It has to work in a balance. Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. So let me ask you a few questions. When you first started to shape the culture at Flux 7, what were some of the biggest challenges, and how did you tackle them?
I think the biggest challenge, specifically for myself in people operations and HR, was imposter syndrome. Coming into a company feeling a little bit like you can't trust the decisions that you're making, and the thing that helped me get over that the most, which is what I think helps culture in the best way, is one of the co-founders, Otter, actually. We were trying to, I was proposing a solution to a problem and we were talking about it. And I was waiting for him to give the solution, because he's the co-founder. And he probably doesn't even remember that he said this. It was just another day in the life for him. But he goes, well, what would you do? And I was like, okay, well, I would do X, Y, and Z. And he goes, okay, we'll do that. you know so he gave me the confidence, and I think that was the biggest challenge for me coming into Flex 7, was gaining that confidence.
Yeah,
The other challenge was just making sure that we fill the room with people that also were looking for the same goals and to fill the same goals.
indeed. Absolutely. And that story of yours, and thank you for sharing that. It reminds me of, again, and I know Otter has definitely read the book, Turn the Ship Around by David Parkett, I think. And it's about leader versus leader followers. And the one line that always stands out for me in that book is Captain, I intend to versus Captain, can I? So
Yes.
fantastic correlation. I love it. When you assess a company's culture, and I know everybody does when they join a company and an organization, what are the key signs that tell you that it's a healthy organization or that it needs work?
This is the easiest question for me to answer, because you can actually see it from a distance in a company. You don't even have to be part of it. If people are willing to give feedback
Hmm.
and they feel comfortable with giving it, soliciting it, that's
Yeah.
the way to see if it's a healthy company or not.
Fantastic. And that is quite important. So I did a lecture recently, and I don't know if you would have seen it. I was in Pune in India, and I gave a lecture or talk with the engineering students, final year engineering students, about how to gauge a company or an organization before you join it. And definitely this having the ability to see it is a great one. But when I started with that conversation, I was talking to them about the different layers of organization culture, and it talks about artifacts. When you started saying something, I thought, oh, are you going to be looking at artifacts, which is, you can't really tell a lot about the organization culture by just looking at an artifact, but that is a great one when you're going through an interview, and if they're actually giving you some feedback, that
Mhm.
makes a whole lot of difference, and they're outright there, and that shows what their values are, what their basic way of doing things is. Sharing feedback, fantastic.
There's a couple of things to that too. As a recruiter, something that you could do to show, we walk the walk as a company, is you could show them your general channel in Slack or whatever, communications tool you use. If there's a large amount of communication going on, unsolicited communication, you can tell it's a healthy company if people are going back and forth and
Yeah.
giving people feedback in there. And actually, I had one candidate one time that I was hiring for in a company previous, and they would not go further in the interview process until they were able to reference our employees by contacting them privately,
Mm.
being able to talk with them one on one, and just make sure that everything that we are sharing with them about the company is true.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
important for candidates. I mean, if you're a very confident candidate and you have the time, I definitely recommend trying to ask for references within the company.
Brilliant. And I share that recommendation. This was again part of that conversation I had with those engineering students. I mentioned you've got to look at what everything is available online, plus try to network with the people who are existing in the company. They're talking, how they talk, how they speak, what they reveal, what they don't. Read the people that you talk to as well. So great advice. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so many companies struggle to create a culture of belonging. What do you think they got wrong?
I think most companies, I think, do the best that they can. Um, Different generations also have different senses of belonging, so it can be difficult for companies to kind of evolve with the different workforce that's coming and going. But belonging to me is, am I welcomed? Do I feel appreciated and recognized? Um, am I celebrated for being able to be myself and who I am? But there are also levels to this. So just like there are levels to emotional intelligence, you can never be the best with emotional intelligence. You're constantly learning and being involved in different situations that allow you to grow. So in my opinion, the most strongest thing that companies maybe get wrong, because again, I do think they're doing the best that they can, is they need to ask the question, are we giving employees the space to fail with grace here? If they say yes, but then I don't think, that they are. I think that they could probably do a little bit of better job. You feel welcomed when you feel like you can fail with grace in moderation.
100%, 200%, maybe 2000% right. I say the same thing. I wrote an article about this, and it's the idea about creating that psychological safety. It's a buzzword, but
Mhm.
that's what it is. It is the ability to share those ideas, just like you did, right? You talked to Arthur. Hey, I don't know if this is right, but this is what I would do, and that he created that safe space for you to say yes. I think let's just do what you're doing because you cannot be sure about anything in this world today until unless you've got an idea, you've come with the best intentions and the energy and execute on your ideas, and then you realize what you learn from it, and then of course adapt, execute again, learn, change,
Exactly.
and execute. So
You have to adapt to it. And I hate to use the example again because I know this conversation isn't just about Flux 7, but at Flux 7, there was a time where I made a big mistake, or at least it felt like a big mistake at the time. And I was petrified. I was like, oh my gosh, they're never going to forgive me. They're never going to trust me again. And so I was like, I just need to face it. I went to one of the co founders and I was like, I made this huge mistake and I'm so sorry. And I was ready for it. And they were just
yeah,
like, well, did you learn from it?
yeah,
Oh, yes, I learned from it. And they're like, "Are you going to do it again?" I was like, "I'm gonna do my very best, not do it again." And they're like, "Then it's fine.
yeah,
It's it's okay.
exactly.
The world is not
It's
going to end."
exactly. I've mentioned this to you, and I'll be releasing Gary Ridge's podcast with me. And his company's situation is basically this is what he brought. They celebrated these failures because they took learning from it, because they wanted to innovate and become better at where they were. They went from one product to many multiple products, from a 300 million company to a $3.3 billion company because they celebrated their failures. So, and I'll tell you another story about IBM. The second owner of IBM, rather the son of the founder Watson, he was also Watson, and of course, and there was some young executive, and he had failed at something, and he had lost the company some millions of dollars, and expecting to be fired when he was called to the CEO's office. He said, I expect that you're going to fire me. And the gentleman, Watson, said, not at all, young man. We just spent millions of dollars teaching you or educating you. So,
I mean, that is, if that doesn't build confidence, I don't know what would.
right? It is fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Um, What strategies have you found most effective in aligning leadership's vision with the actual lived culture of employees?
That's a really good question. Um, so what is vision for a company? I think vision is it's meant to guide the company. It's meant to motivate and inspire employees, and it's supposed to build the brand, build the image for the organization. So to me, I think this is one of the more straightforward uh, answers as well, is because if the vision aligns with the values, then it should easily reflect inside of the employees. So I find that the best strategy is working backwards, asking the people that created the vision, the founders, the CEOs, the executives, why should the employees care and how?
Mm,
And then how should they reflect that they care as
yeah,
well? How can they show that they care? How are we going to measure that they care? And then I think it's also important, a huge hint that I do is find your cultural ambassadors and your
mm,
champions and help them understand why the vision is so important, why it connects with the values. and then help them guide and influence their peers. Because the cultural ambassadors, if they're going around helping you portray the vision of the company, the peers are going to listen to them. But if they hear the CEO say it all the time,
Yeah.
or HR or the other executives, they're just gonna be like, oh, well, you just want me to be a cog in the machine, and you're not going to listen to me. But if they hear their peers talking about it, then they might perk up and be like, okay, maybe this is important. Maybe I should value this. And so I think it's leveraging the people that are your cultural ambassadors, your organic cultural ambassadors. You can't force someone to be that.
Exactly. And I love that what you mentioned about the culture carriers.
Mhm.
I probably wanted, I'm just joking, of course. I would remove this portion from this conversation because you're giving away all the secret sauce. But you're absolutely right. Aligning the vision, that why the vision exists, that's basically comes off the what is the basic assumptions of the leader, because
Mhm.
that's what guides every action, and they bring the culture to the organization. So, what is the vision? What is the why behind it? And then finding those culture carriers that will propagate this organization culture. And most importantly, that's exactly what I do at Izini as well, is we have to figure out what this vision is, what the values are, and what is the expected behavior that
Yeah.
is in line with those visions, that will allow you to give that to the subordinates and give them the way, showing them the path. This is how we need to be. And that enables us, basically, it makes it easier to follow something that, okay, this is how what the expected behavior is. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Most companies, I think, their goal is revenue. They want
yeah,
money. Of course, they have to make money in order
yeah,
to employ the people that work for them. It
yeah,
makes sense. But as an employee, it's like if their main goal is revenue, as an employee, you're just like, well, I'm working very hard. When do I get to see that revenue? Or when do I get to see the benefit? What's the point of me working extra if the goal is just revenue? So you have to translate that into the vision of like, we're making the best products for our clients to fulfill their dreams. And then the employees will get behind that and be like, well, what are these people's dreams? What are the clients' dreams? And then they're helping the clients' dreams come to life. And that's fulfilling. That
yeah.
makes people feel good at night, know that the time that they're spending at work, the 8 to 10 hours that they're spending at work, isn't
Yeah.
just, oh, I'm at a job, I'm at an employer and I'm working, but it's fulfilling. And I think if you can translate that from we need revenue to we are helping you fulfill your career development and we are helping our clients fulfill their dreams, it's easier.
Hit it on the nail. Yes, the goal is making money, as Eli Goldratt says. But at the same time, what is the current reality is that the organizations have to realize that we are not just alone in this world. There is a whole bunch of community. There's investors, there's partners, there are people, there is leadership, there's everybody. These are the stakeholders that exist, and we have to cater to all of them. And Kathleen Hogan, she is the CHR of for Microsoft. What she says is that this is how they speak to their employees. You will not work for Microsoft until Microsoft works for you. So use that Microsoft platform to build to your vision of what you want to achieve in your life. So
Yes, I absolutely love that. I w- so I obsess over, like people operations and culture. It's just it like you have your calling, it's my calling. And so the other night I was thinking, I was like, how do I describe how I'm feeling about an employer, or how someone might feel about an employer, and how do I translate that? So I was thinking employers should start to view themselves more as the vehicle for someone's career. Um, Stop with the questions of like, why do you deserve to work here? And start asking, why do we deserve to have you as an employee?
yeah,
Um, and so if they start thinking, we are the vehicle that's going to get you from point A to B, as long as you in the driver's seat are going to help us get from point A to B, we have to work together. And and I hope that I see more employers value the hiring process in that way a little bit more, especially with the economy the way that it's going right now. I feel like there's a lot of people that are going to be in the job market,
yeah,
a lot of really talented people. So
yes.
I would love to see that. It was an epiphany I had the other day. I wanted to share it.
Awesome, fantastic, and I swear, Abby. you and I are the positive force, the feedback that needs to go into the system that will allow the system to become into your vision of what organizations should be. Just a platform where people come and they fulfill their own dreams. So
Yeah.
fantastic. Um, I have one more question, but before that, I wanted to just, because you're human resources, I want to mention that everybody thinks that, okay, culture, let's leave it off to human resource, which I strongly oppose, because organizational culture is a shared learning of the entire organization. So everybody has a part. It's not just human resources. So if this is, I know human resources do a lot because they are really working with people, but there's something which I had learned from a book called Organizational Cultures and Leadership by Edgar H. Sheehan. He's the notable authority on organizational culture. And what he speaks about is the fact that human resources, like any other profession, has their own subculture.
Hmm.
So it is up to the CEO to make sure that he's combining the efforts of all different subcultures into the organization culture. So that's why we can't just think about human resources to handle the organizational culture. Yes, they can help, like every other person, to build that culture, but that's not the only. Uh,
Yeah, I actually, I'm very glad that you said that because HR often falls, or culture often falls in people operations and HR's OKRs for the entire organization, but it should be a company shared OKR goal. I understand that HR has the skills, I think, and the competencies to be able to push culture forward. It's kind of like, would you put a sales quota in with, an engineering team? Maybe, but the engineering team does have an impact on
yeah.
sales. I just think it's a cross shared goal.
Yes.
HR has the competencies to help drive it, but it needs to be led from the top down too. If the executives aren't embracing the culture, if
Yeah.
they're not reflecting it, it's very difficult to get the employees to.
Yeah. And I think this was something on that conversation, the joint with the webinar that we were participants of, or earlier last week as well. So
Yes.
thank you for being in. One last question, and then we go into rapid fire questions.
Oh, oh.
If you had to distill your experience into one key lesson about building a strong organizational culture, what would it be?
Um, Trust your employees. I would say that's the biggest lesson. Trust your employees. If you are doing your best
Yeah.
as a leader, then trust your employees are doing their best. And if they're not doing their best, then question yourself. Are you doing your best? That's what I
Oh,
would say is the biggest lesson.
wow, I love it. Thank you. That's really powerful. All right. So, what book do you recommend the most?
Ooh, Radical Candor, of course. Radical
Nice.
Candor. I feel like it's just a foundation for feedback if you want a feedback culture, and The Lean Startup. The Lean Startup is a book that I've just been getting into, and I think it has um, some humbling, uh, some humbling data on what it's like to be a startup, what it's like to be an entrepreneur. So I like both of those.
Well, those books are on my list. I'm definitely gonna. They're they're way down. There's so many books, but I'm gonna definitely get to those soon. What's one thing that people would be surprised to learn about you?
Professionally or personally?
Dealer's choice.
um, One thing that they would be surprised to know about me. That I'm an introvert.
Oh my God, that is.
Look, and I sound a lot like an extrovert because I'm always, trying to be part of things, but I am a major introvert. I'm the kind of person at a family get together, I need like 10 minutes in a closet to just decompress.
That is crazy. I mean, I used to think, and I still, small part of me still thinks that I'm an introvert, but having started my organization, I'm starting to think I'm not necessarily an introvert. I think I'm an extrovert, but yes, like you, I take time
Hmm.
before I jump into things and start the conversation. But we are pretty much extroverts. I'm pretty sure it's just we're cautious extroverts. I mean,
Yes.
Awesome. Well, in the last thing, how can our listeners connect with you?
Through LinkedIn. That's the easiest way. I actually in LinkedIn, I think I have that my calendar is connected to it, so I'm always happy to connect. Just through like a virtual meeting.
Yeah,
I encourage people actually to connect with me through a virtual meeting. I feel like it's more personal and we
yeah.
get to talk about things in depth. And also, every other Monday, I host a shared and peer mentorship group with fellow people operations and HR executives. Because sometimes,
Wow.
being there in that position feels like you can't talk to anybody. You're supposed to be the person with answers. You're supposed to be the person that doesn't have, sad or negative feelings. And
Yeah.
so we have a peer mentorship group every other Monday. Happy for anybody to join it. It's a small collective group right now, but happy to build it.
Wow, that is amazing, and definitely count me in. I would love to be part of that conversation and group. I think I can learn a lot, and definitely, I think I'll be in a place where I can share my insights of whatever I've learned so far as well.
I'll invite you.
Thank you. Please do. And so there you have it, folks. An amazing and entertaining conversation with my favorite HR person. One, not just one, but my favorite HR person. And thank you, Abby, for being a guest on my podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.